Welcome to the MetPro Method podcast. I'm your host, Crystal O'Keefe, and today I'm joined by MetPro client Keri Holder, and we are going to be discussing Keri's MetPro journey. Keri, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course, we're excited to hear about your journey. I want to take you back to the beginning. Why did you originally start MetPro? What did you decide, like, this is the moment I know that MetPro is a good option for me?
I started out with just the journey of deciding I needed something different in order to change my nutrition. I was really good with exercise and everything that way, of trying different exercises and whatnot. But I knew I needed help. And my husband had joked that we were going to go back to keto, nothing against it, but it just wasn't working for me. I know I like food too much that I needed to find an option. So I had reached out to my sister's best friend, who is a dietitian, and she had actually sat through a MetPro training or a seminar that she had heard the owner speak and said she thought it might be a good program. So then I started doing different research. There's other programs out there, obviously, and whatnot. And with her recommending it, I reached out to one of your sales reps and spoke to him and was thoroughly impressed that I could have a one-on-one coach, because some of the other programs I saw out there, it was like group coaching. And I knew that I'm particular about how I like to do things and whatnot, that the group fitness atmosphere is a great place, but I knew group nutrition wouldn't be what would work for me. So then when I found out that one-on-one coaching was available and whatnot, that I decided to take the leap and give MetPro a shot, and it has been one great experience.
That's awesome to hear. What would you say that the starting process was like? How would you describe it?
The starting process was a little bit different than what I think most people may run into at MetPro. You get signed up for the app and everything, and I had a different coach than I ended with.
Oh.
I had 1 month that I had a different coach before I was introduced to Amber, which at the end of the day, it was meant to be that Amber and I were coach and trainee, because we just have so much in common with the animals that we love. I have an English bulldog. She has English bulldogs, French bulldogs. So it's just been a great experience. But that was a little bit of a different transition, where you had one coach, then different, and each of them had kind of their own little style. But I enjoyed that they gave you 3 days to, here's the app, enter everything you eat, regardless of, if you're on this plan or not. And then we're going to take you from there and figure out what your goals are and stuff like that.
That's a really great insight, a great point. Sometimes we do switch coaches if they have a special project or things like that happening. So then we do get paired with different coaches. But I've always really enjoyed the fact that our coaches have very different styles, because each person is so different. And what I think that does for people who are signing up is we're able to pair you with the perfect person for you, like you with Amber, and having so much in common. What kind of things did Amber have you focus on as you started the journey with her?
I think I would say just mainly just the different questions I had with nutrition. And when you're on a phase, then they change the phase. And it was nice to have somebody to work through those phase changes with, because of the fact that, like, I planned for the week. I grew up with a mom who had a menu written down for the entire week of what we were going to eat each day, because she could only grocery shop once a week. We lived out in the country, and they're dairy farmers, so she didn't have time to run into town. So then that's what I loved about MetPro and working with Amber, was that I could build my plan for the week and we're good to go. And then the plan, sometimes she wanted to change it in the middle of the week. And I'm like, one, I can't always adapt to that. And two, mentally, it would drive me crazy. So we worked on, all right, every Thursday, we're going to talk, we're going to discuss if we're going to change a plan and then move forward. And then it was awesome working with her too, because then you learned the different ideas about food.
Yeah.
And, well, why can I have it this time? But then you change my plan and now I can't have it next time. And I gained those little insights into why you do it that way.
Yeah, that's really great. I feel like that's another thing that's unique about MetPro is we like to, as coaches, we like to teach you as we go so that when you do eventually reach your goals, you leave the program for whatever reason, now you can continue it on your own. You've learned a lot about it and why things work. I think that's awesome. So was working one-on-one with a coach what you expected since that was an important thing for you?
Yes, I found it was very helpful in regards to because some days you'd be having a bad mental health day regards to all of this that you just wanted to throw your hands up and like this isn't working, this sucks, why am I doing this? But then she would bring you back to the why are you doing this, and some days she was kind of hard on you, but she wanted you to remember the why that you were doing it. It wasn't like, oh, this is going to quickly happen. You're going to drop all this weight and then life is going to be great. It's hard. You have to choose your hard to get to whatever goal it is that you want. And that's what I found with the nutrition piece, that it is hard, because you're going to have people that rip on you like, you're already, I wasn't overweight, but I wanted to be at a certain level. And, you'd have people rip on you because you don't need to lose any weight. You look fine. And it's like, no, there's certain aspects I want to gain out of this and different things that I felt I totally got out of having that coach to guide me on those days where it was really tough. Like I missed her the last couple of weeks. I don't have Amber as my coach any longer, trying to get through the last month of tax season as I'm a tax accountant. And man, that was just brutal, where you're just like, I just need something. I just need to pick me up. And you're trying not to eat the donuts and the junk that are in the office because everybody else is using that as their crutch and, things like that. So that's what I really liked. And I enjoyed the fact that I had to tell her what alcohol I was drinking because I drank a lot of alcohol prior to this program. And that was also one of the other goals I wanted to get out of this was I wanted to scale back on my drinking and whatnot. And so she was always encouraging and helped me find different things that we could do to kind of substitute that evening cocktail, where you're trying to unwind and different things and whatnot. I found that so helpful.
So I'm also curious what kind of success you've had during your MetPro journey. So you were working with a coach and now it sounds like you're on the basic plan. So what has that success looked like for you?
That success has looked like for me that I have had energy every single day. I have lost 16 pounds in this journey and I'm around that level. I don't really see that changing much at all. And that I've lost inches in places that I didn't know would change just by losing weight. My whole goal in all of this was I just want to lose weight so I can fit back in the clothes that I currently own. And I'm now to the point that I had to go spend money to get clothes that fit because those clothes I wanted to fit into actually don't fit either. And so things like that. And I've been able to push myself with heavier lifting of weights now and different things that I know. I got to play one short round of golf so far. I live in Wisconsin, so it snows every other day here yet. And I got to play one round, and both my husband and I think the gains that I had on each of my clubs, which is an average to 5 to 10 yards further, is a combo of my awesome nutrition plan now and that I've been lifting the heavier weights to get me to that point. And that was a total side effect I wasn't expecting at all.
Absolutely. As a side note, we had a whole episode we did about golf, and we were talking about how your swing can actually change by losing weight. Have you noticed that? I don't know if 16 pounds is enough. I know the gentleman we spoke with during our interview, he had lost quite a bit, and he found that his swing actually changed during that time.
Mine, I would say, really, I listened to that podcast. He was awesome. He was an inspiration too. But no, I didn't really notice mine had changed that much because I wasn't carrying weight in any one spot that I felt had really affected it at all in that regard. And yeah, the other piece to this as well is that my stomach is finally flat. I don't feel bloated and feel like I look like I felt like I looked like I was like 3 months pregnant all the time. And it was just like, I'm like, no, I don't want this. So I've been able to obtain that goal and then hang on to it at the same time that I have a flat stomach now.
Well, those are incredible successes, Keri. So congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
And I love that you list that energy is one of your successes, because especially being a tax accountant this time of year, for those of you who don't know, we are recording right after tax season. And so Keri has been right in the thick of it for the last couple of weeks. So I feel like that's a major win, being able to have energy and keep going during that time frame. How did you end up coping with the fact that there were all these desserts in the office? Did you find that you had to rely on coping mechanisms that you may not have used in the past?
Part of it was we changed where they were putting the snacks because they were right down a hallway that we all walk down all the time. So we had asked, because there's a couple others of us that were trying to lose weight or maintain your weight loss in the office. So that helped. And then once in a while, it was just, I need that. And I'd grab a piece of it, but I won't eat it all. Like if there was a muffin, I'd take part of the muffin top up. And yep, I'm going to admit it, I threw the rest of it away, because then it just satisfied that little bit of a need I needed to get to that next level and to be able to survive tax season and things like that. And then you weren't thinking about it anymore. Once you knew that junk was in the office, my brain goes, yep, you're just going to keep thinking about this and you're going to keep thinking about this. And so sometimes it was like, just had to give in so that my brain would stop. But then I still had the, maintenance to be able to throw it away. And if it wasn't good, like you're like, oh yeah. And you're like, this is terrible. I throw it away. I took a bite and that was it. Nope, this is terrible. I'm not going to waste my calories on this. So throw it away.
Yeah. Sometimes whenever the kids will have desserts, I'll be like, is that worth the calories? Like, tell me how that tastes. I need details.
Yes, exactly.
It might look good, but does it taste as good as it looks?
Correct.
So what have you found challenging while you've been using MetPro?
One of the biggest things I think I found challenging was initially, like, sometimes the program in Amber would want to change, like, all right, we're going to do this for 2 days and then change it. And it's like, I can't like revamp because I only like to grocery shop once a week. So I take advantage of the online grocery shopping where I pull up to the parking spot and they put it in my car and I leave. So it's things like that of learning to adapt of what could I have in the house, like canned green beans are a huge thing that I have in my house because it's easy to maintain regardless of what my plan changes. So that was one of the items I found kind of like challenging in that regard. Another one was, it was at the beginning, I always was one that cooked more with recipes. And then I found that this took a bit to scale back to go to simple where, all right, I'm just going to have a protein, my veggies and a fat, or whatever you had the combo. And instead of doing the recipes, I would kind of build that recipe. Like if I was going to do a taco bowl, because I got rice that night with black beans, that you learn to adapt it that way. But that took me a while as well. And then the idea of like going out on your own. When I knew that Amber and I were going to be taking separate ways, I knew I was going to the app only, but she took it upon herself to make sure that I had the items that I needed so that I could succeed with it. And then also there's still a coach in the background. I haven't had to reach out yet, but I do have a couple of things that I'm starting to think about that I want to reach out to a coach and ask. But so those were some of the items. And the other piece was too, that I like to work out a certain way. So I was kind of bucking the system sometimes where they're like, well, let's do cardio. I'm like, really? I don't want to do cardio. I love weightlifting. I'm one of those people. So it was always kind of comical sometimes with like, well, we have workouts in the app. And I'm like, nope. I said, I don't build my own. I said, I follow beach body programs. I have it all set up in my basement that I can follow all of that. And I'm like, nope, I just want to know what my workout's going to be the next day. I don't want to build my own or I would have no success with this at all. So that was kind of touch and go with both of the coaches, I would even say at the beginning. And then Amber gave me some really good guidance as to, all right, well, let's try this cardio or, things like that then I got it more dialed in as to what we were trying to accomplish to understand that.
Yeah, that's always funny to me. Again, as a coach, I find that if a person loves cardio, I have to really push them into strength. And if they love strength, I have to really push them into cardio. But I mean, ideally, we would do both.
Yes.
As you know.
Yep.
So has there been anything that really surprised you about MetPro?
The simplicity of it. I was expecting that, like, oh, I'm going to have to build all this stuff. You're going to have to do all this stuff. And it was nothing. That was just kind of my mindset before. It's nothing that anyone said bad. And I'm just able to pull up the app. All right, here's what I got in the house for supper. Let's see what we can combine to meet the expectations of my dinner MetPro that night, and things of that nature. And then just like all the weight or inches I lost in my arms, in my chin. Like when you do the photos, please do the photos, people, because it is so unreal. Because some weeks you're like, that scale won't move. And then the coach, Amber, goes, I want to see photos. And you do photos and you're like, oh my gosh, look where I lost weight now.
Yeah.
You know, and like my arms, my chin, and my upper thighs were the biggest thing. I knew it was going to go away in the middle of your stomach, but it was just, those are the pieces that just blew me away.
That is fabulous. That's a really, really good point, too, about losing weight in places you don't expect. And I absolutely agree that taking photos is such a huge, huge piece of this, because so many people, myself included, we live and die by the scale. You know, it's like, oh, that number, if it didn't go up today or if it didn't go down today, then, you know, I didn't do what I was supposed to do yesterday. But when you're doing all the things over and over and over again, scale's not moving, you start to question, did I do something wrong? And so when you can see the visual representation of this is the progress I've made, you see it happening. It's so exciting, so rewarding.
Yes, that was the biggest thing I think I learned mentally out of all of this, is that some days that scale is just not going to be your friend no matter what you do. But then you all of a sudden turn around, because my mirror is kind of right behind me where my scale is. And you go, whoa, look at those abs today. I didn't see those before. You know, and you have to take those wins instead when you're looking at some of that. Because, yeah, some days you're like, come on, scale, just give me something today, you know, and then you see that instead.
Yeah. And since you've reached pretty much your weight goal, what do you have other goals that you're working on as you continue to use the basic app? Or is it maintenance for you? Is that your goal moving forward?
I would say it's a combo of maintenance is the goal. Because I do a ton of walking with playing golf. You know, like I'm probably going to average probably 400 miles probably this year with the amount of golf my husband and I have planned, and the group we're going with, and everything else that way. So I want to make sure that I maintain that weight so I can be that much more enjoyable walking all these courses and whatnot. And two is, like I said, with the weightlifting, now I want to get all that definition. I want to see those triceps that once in a while I got to see that horseshoe. Now I want that to be more consistent so that I look good in all those golf clothes, because I'm a stylist and I love golf clothes at the same time.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I had a client tell me this morning she was doing a plank and she saw shadows where abs are going to be. She was like, they're coming out. I'm so excited. It's like such a great feeling when you see that. It's so amazing.
Yes, I don't disagree at all. And I have ended up having a mirror in my basement that I'm like, all right, I'll put this over here. And I'm like, the other day I was like, whoa, look at my shoulders. I haven't seen that. You know, you're like, that's awesome. So yes, it's just however you can find those little wins now and then is what definitely helps you to keep motivated and to keep going.
That is awesome advice. Do you feel like there's anything else you want to make sure listeners know about MetPro or your journey that we haven't already covered?
The biggest thing that I don't know if it was on this podcast or if it was a different podcast I had heard, is to choose your heart. It's hard to stay healthy. It's hard to stay overweight. It's, you know, that everything you choose in life is hard, but you have to enjoy the journey, because some days, you're just going to fall off the plan, and it's okay. Just don't let it keep escalating to the next day and the next day and the next day, and have a plan, you know, like, I'm going to go up north today with my family, and I'm not exactly going to eat on plan, but my snacks in the truck for the drive back to Green Bay, you know, things like that. that, again, keep it simple. That I found so easy that it just makes life, makes it more successful and whatnot that way. And to give yourself the grace that some days is just not going to work.
That is all excellent advice. That is really good tips for people who are just starting. Keri, thank you so much for your time today. I really, really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure talking to you and learning about your journey.
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate you asking me to be part of the conversation and whatnot to inspire others to make the journey into MetPro and to learn everything they can.
It's been great. Listeners, that's all for this week. You can find all the MetPro Method episodes anywhere you get podcasts, or you can go to metpro.co/podcast. Please be sure to follow the show and rate and review. That lets other people know what they can expect. You can also learn more about MetPro at metpro.co. I'm your host, Crystal O'Keefe, and I'll be back next week. Until then, remember, consistency is key.